palace of Itheris shined like silver under the twin moons. Tall towers touched the dark sky, and lights of blue crystal glowed like stars. Tonight was not only a royal wedding, but also the joining of two different worlds. Humans and Waitherians had been enemies for many years, but now a human man was about to marry the alien princess. Many believed this marriage could bring peace. Others whispered it would bring disaster. The groom, Captain Elias Ward, walked slowly through the long golden hall. His uniform had been replaced with royal robes of white and red. His heart beat fast, not from fear of battle, but from the heavy silence of alien eyes watching him. Every Etherian guest had skin like polished stone, glowing eyes and crowns of living crystal on their heads. They stared at him as if testing his worth. At the end of the hall stood Princess Serenia. Her beauty was beyond human words. Her skin shimmered in shades of silver blue. Her hair floated like threads of light, and her gown was woven from starlight silk. When she smiled, it was soft but strange, a smile that hid secrets. Her people called her the Moon Daughter, chosen by prophecy to lead them into a new age. The wedding itself was short. The high priest of Itheris spoke words Elias could not fully understand. His translator whispered meanings into his ear. "One heart, two souls, one bond," the priest said. The phrase repeated many times, Elias thought it was only a poetic blessing. He did not know how heavy those words truly were. When the vows were finished, the hall erupted in sound. Alien horns, deep drums, and glowing lights filled the air. The Etherians celebrated loudly, but Elias felt a strange tension. He saw fear in the princess's eyes when she looked at him closely. She held his hand, but her fingers trembled later. When the celebrations ended, the couple was guided to their royal chamber. The room was vast. With walls covered in moving symbols of light, at the center was a golden bed, wide enough for 10, yet Elias felt no comfort. Something in the air was cold, heavy, like a storm waiting to fall. Princess Serenia sat beside him. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "You are brave, Elias, braver than you know. But I must ask you one thing. There is a door in this chamber you must never open. Promise me this." Elias looked at the far wall. Indeed, there was a tall black door with no handle. It was carved with glowing runes that moved like living creatures. His soldier's instincts told him this was dangerous, but he also felt curiosity burning inside. Why would his bride fear this door on their wedding night? He nodded slowly. "I promise," he said. But inside, the question grew heavier. The princess leaned closer. Her silver eyes looked tired. "Our wedding is not like yours on Earth. Elias, there are old laws, old bindings, you must trust me. No matter what you hear tonight, no matter what you feel, do not open that door." Her words were sharp with warning, yet soft with sadness. Elias tried to ask more, but she only shook her head. That night, as silence filled the palace, Elias lay awake. The room felt alive. He heard faint whispers, not from the princess, but from the walls. The black door glowed faintly, as if something behind it was breathing. He turned to his bride. She lay on the bed, her eyes closed, but her lips moved as if she spoke to someone in her dreams. He could not hear the words, but the sound chilled him. Then, a sudden tremor shook the chamber. The walls shook, the crystals dimmed. The black door pulsed with light like a heartbeat. Elias sat up quickly. His promise to the princess pressed against his mind. Yet his soldier's hand reached for his blade. He did not know it yet, but the wedding night had only begun, and behind that door waited a secret that could shatter both their worlds. The night in the alien palace was darker than Elias expected. The twin moons outside had vanished behind thick clouds, and only the glowing runes on the walls gave a faint blue light. The silence was so deep that every breath he took sounded heavy. Yet even in that silence he could hear it, the soft whispers behind the black door. Elias sat on the edge of the golden bed. His new bride, Princess Serenia, slept beside him. Her face looked peaceful, but her body shifted again and again. As if she fought invisible hands in her dreams, her lips moved, and faint words came out in the alien tongue. Elias could not understand them, but he felt the weight of fear in every sound. He looked at the door again. The black surface seemed alive, breathing in and out. The glowing runes twisted like snakes, forming shapes that changed every time his eyes focused. For a soldier like Elias, doors were never simple. A locked door meant danger. A guarded door meant secrets, and a forbidden door meant truth. He stood slowly, careful not to wake Serenia. His boots touched the crystal floor without sound. His eyes never left the door. He remembered her warning. No matter what you hear, do not open that door. But warnings had never stopped him before. If anything, they pushed him closer. He placed his hand on the cold black surface. It felt alive, a slow pulse moving beneath. Like the skin of a sleeping beast, suddenly the whispers grew louder. They were no longer soft, they were calling his name, Elias, Elias. The sound froze his breath. No alien should have known his name. Not like this. He pulled his hand away quickly. His heart raced, sweat touched his forehead. He turned to see Serenia. Her eyes were open now, glowing faint silver in the dark. She had not moved, but her gaze locked on him. Did you touch it? Her voice was sharp but quiet. Elias froze. No, he lied. She sat up, her silver blue hair flowing like liquid light. You must not lie to me, Elias. The door is awake now, and it knows you. The words hit him harder than a battlefield wound. What do you mean it knows me? He asked. Serenia shook her head. It does not matter. Promise me again you will not open it. If you love me, if you want peace for our people, you must resist. Her voice trembled, and for the first time Elias saw fear that was not for herself but for him. She touched his hand, her fingers cold as ice. Our wedding night is not only for love, it is for choosing. But you are not ready to know what you must choose. Elias wanted to ask more, but before he could, the ground shook again. A deep rumble moved through the palace, far away at first, then closer. The glowing runes on the door flared bright red for a moment. Then dimmed. Elias stepped back, his instincts screaming. The princess closed her eyes and whispered words that sounded like a prayer. Her body shivered as if fighting something inside her. Elias could only watch. He felt like he was standing between two battles. One outside in the alien world, and one inside the chamber with his bride. Finally, she looked at him, her eyes wet with strange silver tears. If the door opens, Elias, everything we are dies, she whispered. Her words were soft, but they cut deeper than any blade. Elias sat beside her again, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He was a soldier, trained for war, yet tonight he faced something he could not fight with weapons. He faced secrets, traditions and powers older than his own world. He faced the unknown. The whispers returned, softer this time but not fading. They promised answers, they promised truth. And in the heart of a man who had fought wars and lost brothers, curiosity burned stronger than fear. He lay down beside Serenia, closing his eyes, but his mind stayed awake, replaying every sound, every glow of the door, every word she had spoken. The night stretched on, and with each moment, he knew the forbidden chamber would not remain silent forever. And when it finally opened, whether by his hand or its own, Elias Ward would learn why his marriage was never meant to be about peace, but about survival. The next evening fell heavy on the palace of Icarus. Outside, storms of silver dust moved across the alien skies. Thunder rolled like the roar of titans. The royal guards walked the corridors in silence, their crystal weapons glowing in the dark. But inside the chamber of the newlyweds, Captain Elias Ward was fighting a different kind of storm. He had not slept every time he closed his eyes. He heard the whispers calling his name. They no longer came only from the black door, they slipped into his dreams. They spoke from the corners of the room. They echoed in his mind like broken glass. Serenia had told him to resist, but her words only made him more restless. The princess seemed weaker too. Her silver blue skin had lost some of its glow. Her voice was softer, and her movement slower. Sometimes she stared at the black door with fear, sometimes with longing. Elias noticed this, and the soldier in him understood. She was hiding something. That night, when Serenia finally closed her eyes in deep sleep, Elias made his choice. He stood, moving quietly. He walked toward the forbidden chamber. The black door glowed faint red again, as if waiting for him. The runes twisted into shapes his mind could almost understand. He pressed his hand against the cold surface. This time it opened. The door groaned like a beast waking from a long slumber. A rush of cold air spilled out, smelling of dust, stone, and something ancient. Elias stepped inside. The chamber beyond was not like the palace. It was darker, older. The walls were carved with alien symbols, glowing faint blue. In the center of the room stood a glass tomb, shaped like a coffin. It floated above the floor, held up by beams of light. Elias's breath caught when he looked inside. A woman lay within. Her face was identical to Serenia's. The same silver blue skin, the same flowing hair of light. Her eyes were closed. her hands folded across her chest. She looked as if she were only sleeping. Elias stepped closer, his heart pounded. The whispers grew louder now, surrounding him, pulling him in. They came from the woman in the tomb. She was not dead. She was dreaming. And in her dream, she was calling him. He touched the glass. It was cold, colder than ice. The moment his hand pressed against it, her eyes snapped open. Silver eyes. The same as Serenya's, but sharper, brighter. They locked on him with an intensity that froze his soul. Elias, her voice echoed in his mind. Not his ears. He staggered back, his chest tight. She had spoken his name without opening her mouth, without moving at all. Suddenly, he heard movement behind him. He turned quickly. Serenya stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. "No," she whispered. "You should not be here." Elias's voice was rough. "Who is she?" He pointed at the woman in the tomb. Serenya's hands trembled. "She is me." The word struck him like a weapon. "What do you mean, you?" he demanded. Serenya stepped inside slowly. Her voice broke. "In our world, the princess is born with two souls. One lives in the body. One sleeps in the tomb on the wedding night. The stronger soul takes control. The weaker one is lost forever." Elias looked back at the glass coffin. The woman inside blinked. Her lips moved now, whispering words he could not understand. "She is my other half," Serenya said. "She is my shadow, my rival and my sister if she awakens. One of us must die." Elias felt the ground shift beneath him. The truth was heavier than war. He had married not only a princess but a vessel for two beings. The wedding night was not about love. It was about choosing which soul would live. The glass tomb began to crack. A thin line spread across its surface, glowing red. Elias stepped back as the sound of breaking glass filled the chamber. Serenya gasped, her body shaking. "She is waking." The second princess pressed her hand against the glass from inside. Her silver eyes burned like fire. Her voice filled the chamber. "Elias, save me." And in that moment, Elias Ward realized he was trapped between two wives. Two truths and two fates. One was the woman he had married. The other was the woman who claimed she had been stolen. The tomb shattered with a burst of light, and the night of secrets had truly begun. The glass tomb shattered into 1,000 glowing shards. They floated in the air for a moment like frozen stars before melting into nothing. The woman who had slept inside now stood on her feet. Her body shimmered with the same silver-blue glow as Serenya. Her hair of light spread across her shoulders. Her eyes opened wide, staring at Elias with hunger and need. Elias stepped back, his hand on his blade. He had fought many battles, but nothing had prepared him for this. Two women, both the same, both alive, both claiming truth. Serenya stood at his side, her hand shaking, her face pale. "You should not have opened it," she whispered. Her voice was filled with fear and sorrow. The other woman turned her gaze to Serenya. Her lips curled into a cold smile. "So, sister, you tried to keep him from me." Her voice was sharper, stronger, and it echoed like a blade cutting stone. She stepped closer, her feet making no sound. "You knew this night would come, and yet you lied to him." Elias looked between them. His heart pounded. "What is happening?" he demanded. Serenya's voice broke. "Elias, listen to me. In our law, in our blood, one body cannot hold two souls forever. One must rule, one must fade. That is why one of us is kept in the tomb. But you opened it. Now the bond is broken and both of us stand." The second woman's silver eyes burned. She lifted her hand and symbols of light spun around her fingers. "Do not believe her," she said. "I am the true Serenya. She is the shadow, the weaker one. She stole my life, my throne, and now she tries to steal you." Elias's breath caught. His soldier's mind searched for answers, but his human heart shook. Both women looked the same, spoke the same, even called his name with the same voice, but there was something different. Serenya's voice carried fear and sadness. While the other carried power and command, Serenya fell to her knees, tears glowing silver as they slid down her cheeks. "Elias, I am your wife, the one who stood with you at the altar, the one who made vows. I begged you not to open the door because I feared this moment. She will say anything to take you from me. She is not me. She is the shadow." The second woman laughed, a sound that echoed with cruel music. "Vows? Lies wrapped in silk. I am the true bride. I was locked away so the weaker spirit could rule in my place, but now I am free. And this empire will know its true queen." The chamber shook. The walls flared with red light. Runes on the floor began to shift and twist. Outside, the storm grew louder, as if the planet itself felt the awakening. Elias stood between them, his hands clenched. His heart pulled in two directions. The second woman stepped closer. Her eyes softened as she looked at him. Elias, you feel it, do you not? The bond between us, you touched my tomb, you woke me. You gave me life again. That bond is stronger than vows whispered under false moons. Choose me, and I will give you more than love. I will give you a throne beside me. Serenia reached for his hand, her fingers cold but trembling with warmth of need. No, Elias, please, you are my hope, my light. You are the reason I fought to survive. If you choose her, the world will burn. I beg you, trust your heart, not her power. Elias's chest felt heavy. He looked into the eyes of one woman, then the other. They were mirrors of each other. Yet one carried softness. The other carried fire. One whispered of peace. The other promised power. The chamber roared again. The storm outside broke lightning across the sky. Soldiers could be heard running in the corridors. The empire itself was reacting to their struggle. Elias held his breath. He had been a soldier, a captain, a fighter in endless wars, but now he stood at the edge of a choice greater than any battle. He realized the wedding was not about peace between two species. It was about survival of two souls, and as the second woman stretched her hand toward him, her smile sharp and beautiful, Elias felt the ground tremble. Serenia clung to him, whispering, "If you choose wrong, everything will end." The lights in the chamber flared. The palace walls groaned, and the ancient power of Itheris demanded an answer. The chamber burned with light as the two princesses faced each other. Symbols of power spun across the walls, glowing in red and silver. The storm outside howled like a beast, shaking the palace towers. Captain Elias Ward stood trapped in the center, two women reaching for him. Two truths pulling at his soul. Serenia, the one who had married him under the moons, clung to his arm. Her voice shook. "Elias, remember me. I gave you my vows. I chose you in front of all our people. Do not let her steal that from us." Her silver tears stained his sleeve. She looked fragile, weak, but her grip was desperate. The other Serenia, fierce and glowing with power, stepped forward. Her eyes flashed like lightning. "Lies, all lies. I am the first soul, the true heir. She was only a shadow given flesh. I was buried so she could pretend to be queen. But now I am awake, and this empire will finally be mine." Her voice echoed through the chamber, strong enough to shake Elias's chest. Elias's mind raced. Both women spoke with the same face, the same eyes, the same memories. But one carried sorrow, the other carried command. He was a soldier, but no training could teach him how to tell them apart. The ground cracked under their feet. Runes spread across the floor like fire. They twisted into circles, glowing brighter and brighter. The princesses stepped inside those circles as if drawn by invisible chains. Elias backed away, his blade raised. Suddenly, the weaker Serenia cried out. Her body bent, as if crushed by unseen hands. The stronger one raised her arm, symbols of light swirling around her fingers. She was pulling strength, drawing power from the very walls of the palace. "Do you see?" she called to Elias. "She cannot stand. She was never meant to rule. She is only dust while I am flame." But Elias did not step forward. He watched with cold eyes. His heart screamed to protect the woman he had married, yet his soldier's mind demanded patience. He had to see more. He had to understand. Serenia fell to her knees. Her voice cracked. "Elias, if you choose her, she will burn everything. She will not stop until this world kneels in fear. Our people will suffer, and even your own will be chained. You must trust me. You must believe that love is not weakness." The stronger princess laughed, a sound like thunder breaking stone. "Love? Weakness wrapped in pretty words, Elias. You are human, a warrior. You know power when you see it. I can give you an empire. I can give you victory over stars. Choose me, and you will never bow again." Her words struck deep. Elias felt them echo in his chest. He had fought wars, lost friends, buried brothers. He had seen humanity treated as prey by stronger races. The promise of power, of victory. It was tempting. Yet he looked at Serenia on the floor, broken but reaching for him, and he felt another truth. the strength of mercy, the strength of love. The runes around them glowed brighter. Lightning ripped through the skies outside. The palace walls shook as if they might fall. The guards outside shouted but dared not enter. This was not a battle of blades, it was a battle of souls. The stronger princess stepped closer, her hand stretched toward Elias. Choose, husband. Choose now, or the world will choose for you. Serenia crawled forward, her body trembling. She caught his hand, her voice barely a whisper. If you trust her, you will lose yourself. If you trust me, we might save more than just us. Please, Elias, remember why you came here, not for power, but for peace. Elias's chest tightened. He stood between them, pulled in two directions. The chamber filled with fire and light, the choice pressing down like a blade at his throat. He knew he could not remain silent. He looked at the stronger one, her beauty sharp as a weapon. He looked at the weaker one, her beauty soft as a promise. His heart beat louder than the storm. His voice rose above the chaos. I will choose, he said. His words echoed through the chamber. The runes froze. The storm paused. Even the whispers fell silent. Both princesses stared at him, waiting. And in that breathless moment, Elias Ward pointed at one of them. His choice would decide not only who was his bride, but who would rule the empire. The chamber froze in silence as Elias pointed. The storm outside paused as if the sky itself held its breath. The glowing runes on the floor stopped moving, waiting for the human's word. 2 women, 2 princesses, 2 souls. All stared at him. Elias's hand shook. His mind felt heavy. His soldier's training told him to choose the one with strength, the one who could lead armies and hold empires together. Yet his heart whispered of something else. He had seen power before. He had fought under warlords. He had bled under tyrants. He knew power without mercy always ended in fire. Finally, his voice cut through the silence. You, he said. His finger aimed at the Serenia, who knelt weak on the ground, the one who had stood beside him at the altar. The weaker one, the one who cried not for a throne, but for him. The stronger woman's silver eyes widened. Rage burned in her voice. You fool, you choose weakness, you doom us all. Her body flared with white light, the air around her cracking like fire. You will regret this until the end of time. Elias stepped forward, his blade drawn. Maybe, he said, his voice calm, but I know this much. Without love, without compassion, no empire is worth saving. The weaker Serenia clung to him, her tears glowing. Her body shook, but her voice carried strength. You chose me, Elias, and because of that the bond will hold. The other cannot rule while I breathe. The stronger one screamed. Her voice shattered the air. The palace shook. The storm outside unleashed bolts of silver lightning that split the towers. Guards ran in fear through the halls. The whole empire seemed to bleed with her rage. She raised her hands. Symbols of fire and light spun in the air. A force slammed into Elias, throwing him back against the wall. His blade clattered to the floor. Pain surged through his chest, but he pushed himself up. His eyes locked on her. Serenia, the chosen one, stood now with trembling legs. Her voice rose against the storm. You cannot win, sister. The human has chosen. The bond is sealed. But the stronger woman only laughed, her smile sharp as a knife. You think a mortal's choice can bind me? You think love can cage fire? No, little shadow. This is only the beginning. She moved forward, her body burned with power. The runes on the floor cracked, red light spilling into the chamber. Elias felt the ground tremble beneath his boots. He reached for his sword, but Serenia grabbed his arm. No, she whispered. This fight is not for blades, it is for souls. Elias's heart pounded. He saw it now, the Empire's ancient curse. The 2 souls born as one, forced to battle until one remained. His marriage had not ended that curse, it had only awakened it. The stronger one raised her hand again. The walls groaned, the ceiling split. A storm of crystal shards rained down. Elias shielded Serenia with his body. The shards cut into his skin, drawing blood, but he did not move. His arms held her close. You see? The stronger one roared. He bleeds for nothing. He will die with you, and then I will rule alone." But Elias stood, his chest heaving, his blood stained the crystal floor, his eyes burned with fire of his own. "I am human," he shouted, "and humans do not kneel, not to tyrants, not to fate. If I must bleed to protect her, then I will bleed. But you will not take her from me." The chamber shook again. The storm outside howled louder, yet something strange happened. The runes on the floor shifted, no longer red but white. They spread around Elias and Serenia like a shield. The stronger one's face twisted in shock. Serena's voice grew stronger, rising with the light. "He has chosen, and because of his choice our bond is greater than yours. You may be fire, sister, but fire cannot burn forever." The stronger woman screamed once more, her body flared with power. Then the runes cracked beneath her feet, pulling her back. She fought, clawed, her silver eyes wild, but the light dragged her down. The chamber filled with her cries as she sank into the cracks of the floor, swallowed by the curse that had once protected her. When the light faded, silence fell. Elias collapsed to his knees. Serenia fell into his arms, her body weak but alive. Her eyes glowed softly. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," Elias said, his voice rough. "We saved each other." But deep inside he knew the truth. The other soul was not destroyed, only buried again. And one day she might return. The palace lay in silence. The storm outside had broken apart, leaving only drifting silver clouds across the twin moons. The great towers of Aetheris still stood. Though cracked and wounded, inside the royal chamber, dust floated through the air like ash after a battle. Elias Ward sat on the crystal floor, his body bleeding, his chest heavy. Serenia lay in his arms, weak but alive. For a long time neither spoke. The silence carried weight. Only their breathing filled the broken chamber. At last Serenia lifted her hand, her fingers trembling as they touched his cheek. "You chose me," she whispered. Her eyes glowed with soft light. "Against power, against fear?" "You chose me," Elias nodded slowly. "I chose what my heart told me," he said. His voice was rough but steady. "But I fear it is not over." She was too strong, too full of fire. "She will return." Serenia closed her eyes. "Yes, Elias, she will never die. She is part of me, part of this bloodline. She will sleep again until another night. Another chance, that is our curse, our truth." Elias's jaw tightened. He had fought wars where enemies could be seen. Armies could be broken, but this was different. This was a war inside a soul. A war without end. Still, he pulled Serenia closer. "Then we will face it together," he said. The doors of the chamber burst open. Guards of crystal armor rushed inside. Their eyes widened at the sight. The shattered tomb, the cracked floor, the human bleeding yet standing, and their princess alive. They dropped to their knees in silence, waiting for command. Serenia struggled to her feet, leaning on Elias. Her voice was soft but carried across the chamber. "The shadow has been returned to sleep. The bond is sealed again." The guards bowed deeper. Relief filled their eyes, yet fear still lingered. They had felt the storm. They had heard the scream. They knew the truth was only half buried. That night the palace began to repair itself. Healers came. Strange lights closed Elias's wounds. Though the scars remained, Serenia rested. But even in her sleep she whispered words Elias could not understand. Her body shook sometimes, as if she still fought battles in her dreams. Days passed. The Empire celebrated the survival of their princess and the binding of the bond. Yet whispers grew in the streets. Some said the human groom had brought the curse. Others said he had saved the princess. Some called him chosen. Others called him doom. Elias walked through the alien city and felt their eyes. Some filled with respect, others with suspicion. One evening, Serenia stood with him on the highest tower. The twin moons rose again, their light shining across the alien world. She held his hand, her silver blue skin glowing faintly. Her voice trembled. "Elias, our marriage was never meant to be about love. It was meant to decide which soul would rule. But you turned it into something else. You gave me strength when I had none. You gave me choice." Elias looked at her, his eyes tired but fierce. "I did not come here for thrones or curses. I came because I saw someone worth standing beside. If that is weakness, then I will carry it proudly." Serenia smiled faintly, a smile mixed with sorrow and warmth. "You do not understand yet," she said. By choosing me, you did not only save me. You bound yourself to our curse, part of her lives in you now. Her fire touched your blood when you defied her. One day you may hear her whispers too." Elias froze. His chest tightened. He remembered the way her rage had thrown him, the way her voice had burned through his bones. Could it be true? Could part of her now live inside him? Seranya leaned against him. "Do not fear, we will fight her together, and maybe, with time, your human strength will teach my people what ours never could, that survival is not only for the strongest, but for those who love, those who hope." The wind moved across the tower. Carrying the sound of distant drums, the Empire celebrated below. But Elias's eyes were fixed on the horizon. He felt the weight of destiny pressing on him, heavier than any war he had fought. He had married not only a woman, not only a princess, but a people, a curse, and a future. And as the moons glowed brighter, he whispered words only the night could hear. This wedding night was never about love alone. It was about survival. It was about choosing the kind of future worth bleeding for. But deep in his chest, faint and sharp as a spark, he thought he heard a laugh, a voice not his own, a whisper of fire waiting for its time.